All right, to this a suggestion via Discord. The name of the video is Union Boss sends dire message about the port strike. Everything comes on a ship. Not really, but for the most part, a lot of the things that basically we consume kinda come off ships. I mean, we really do not make anything that we want, unfortunately, not like that, not large scale. So yeah, there are a lot of things like cars and like some fruit and clothes. These type of things are definitely the things that are being basically held hostage at this particular moment in time, guys. But let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's see where this takes us. Here we go.
So it is darkness and things happen after dark. We know that. War happens after dark. I will also speak with Republican Congressman Brian Mast, who volunteered with the Israeli Defense Force. Stay tuned for that. Fox News alert now. Americans are already struggling under the crushing weight of high prices on everything, especially food. And now bracing for the effects of a massive port strike. It's on. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. Tens of thousands of dock workers from Maine to Texas are picketing for the first time since 1977. Their contract expired at midnight. They want big wages and guaranteed job protection from automation. Because when things are automated, you need less human beings. The Port Workers Union chief negotiator, well, he has a lot to say and he doesn't hold back.
Okay. Let's hear it.
When my men hit the streets, from Maine to Texas, every single port will lock down.
All right.
You know what's going to happen? I'll tell you. First week, be all over the news every night, boom, boom. Second week, guys who sell cars can't sell cars because the cars ain't coming in off the ships. Mm-hmm. They get laid off. Third week, malls start closing down. They can't get the goods from China. They can't sell clothes. They can't do this. Everything in the United States comes on a ship. They go out of business. Construction workers get laid off because the materials aren't coming in.
Why does he sound happy?
The lumber's not coming in.
Right.
They lose their job.
Okay.
Everybody's hating the longshoremen now because now they realize how important our jobs are.
Bro, it's going to get worse. Right? I'm not sure. Hold on, guys. I'm not specifically sure that he should be running anything. Like, based off of how he's speaking, he's just completely fine with holding the United States of America hostage, bro. He's extorting us. That's what he's doing here. He's like, oh, you need all these things? Well, give us more money and we'll go ahead and do this again. Okay, well. And I think one of their main gripes specifically is that they are making somewhere around $80,000 versus the West Coast. They're making like $116,000 and they want to make at least as much as they, but they don't really want that, if that makes any sense. They kind of want it, but they don't want it because they want 77% more money than the West than they basically have currently, basically. I get it, bro. Like, if you're trying to fight against the concept of automation, bro, we are moving towards the future. All right. This has happened before with coal. All right. And it has absolutely wrecked places that made their entire community and industry off of coal products. It has, right? Look at West Virginia right now. Look at the state of it. Okay. Impoverished, basically, completely. But that's what happens with innovation. You always have to make sure that you are basically going to be future-proof. And the problem is that you're not. And if you're going to go ahead and say that I want 77% more money, all you're doing is pushing all of these companies to completely automate. And to be honest, I don't blame them. I would also, in reality. Right? I have to buy one machine one time, and it's going to pay for itself most likely in a year, 2 years, versus having to pay multiple people to do things that one machine can do singularly and faster and at 24 hours. Right? You want to maintain, it sounds like they want to maintain our country basically in the dark ages. It seems like it, at least, while holding us hostage, saying, listen, you cannot innovate. You cannot, do anything for the future of the country. You cannot make things faster and smoother. Under no circumstance can you buy machines to replace our positions. Bro, I get it. I hear you. But it's most likely time to do something else. And because of this, I would do it faster. But either way. because you're completely fine with holding us hostage. You're a bad man,
Well, he's
bro.
not wrong about getting us our stuff and how critical a role they play. We could really feel this. And how we got here, where is the White House? You fight when you have to at the White House to keep stuff like this from happening.
Okay.
Is Biden, is Kamala Harris, are they up to the fight? Let's take a look at the crisis that's upon us now, because this administration is almost famous for how many times they can let a crisis happen because things went on too long without leadership. Some 45,000 dock workers.
Guys, the only thing that the president can actually do right now is enact the Taft-Hartley Act of like 1940s, bro. That's the only thing that they can do. And what they should do is do it right now, right? Say like, listen, we're not going to allow you to hold us hostage, right? You're not going to destroy the country. Okay, we're already stuck in like this crazy economy. Why would we want to allow this to get worse, right? So what you do is enact the Taft-Hartley Act. And basically what this says is if union heads want to extort you, meaning the country or companies, you punish them by taking away all their rights, right? Like if you want to do this, then okay, fine. You have no more benefits of a union. Congratulations, you ruined it for everyone, basically. But either way.
At 36 ports from Maine to Texas are on strike today. A JP Morgan analysis found this could cost the U.S. economy $5 billion a day.
That's a high estimate.
Major retailers to small businesses are also preparing for supply chain disruptions. We could see shortages of some critical items, medical equipment, vehicles, food, clothing. And if you think the inconvenience is going to be bad, imagine how you're going to have to pay for those few things that are coming through.
Right, it's going to get expensive.
Stuff's going to get higher if this goes on too long.
Yeah.
Despite all of it, though, President Biden says, well, nothing. He's on the sidelines. The White House has said he would not invoke Taft-Hartley Act. That act allows the president to order an 80-day cooling off period. That gets us way beyond the Christmas holidays and into the new year for a fresh look at what the union and the corporations are fighting about. That would avert a strike at this point. The White House, well, playing dodgeball, you know how it goes. Let's watch.
At what point would the president be willing to intervene? How long would he allow that to go on, and at what cost to the
I'm not going to get into
American
hypotheticals. I'm not from here.
Would the president consider walking the picket line?
I'm not going to get into hypotheticals. We
That's not a hypothetical at all. She asked you a direct question.
believe that collective bargaining is important here. We've always said that.
Okay.
We believe that both sides should come to the table
Right.
in good faith and get to an agreement, a fair agreement.
I thought
A fair
she
agreement.
wasn't going to go into details. Fox Business's Grady Trimble is at the port of Baltimore, one of the many that we depend so much on. Grady.
And Harris, just to set the scene for you today, there are around 2,400 International Longshoremen's Association members at this particular port. You can see a group of them on the picket lines in the...
Wait. Machines don't feed families. They don't. They absolutely do not, right? But the problem is that if you're doing this, I would now punish you going forward for even thinking about doing this. I'm going to be honest. Like I would automate tomorrow.
Rain, not deterred at all by that. 45,000
Because of
members
this.
across ports from Texas all the way up to Maine on strike right now. And what that means for you and me is, well, you can see the effects of this strike. These cranes you see in the background are the cranes that these men and women would typically be operating, but they've walked off the job and now they are at a standstill. That means products coming into the United States from all over the world are also at a standstill. Our colleague
And rotting in the port.
Lydia, who spoke to the president of the ILA, the International Longshoremen's Association, this morning, he's praising the Biden-Harris administration, in particular the acting labor secretary, Julie Su, for
not
encouraging
doing
the two
anything?
sides to come together to negotiate. But the problem is a whole host of industry groups say that the Biden-Harris administration isn't doing enough. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the National Retail Federation, wholesalers, they're all saying that the administration should invoke the Taft-Hartley Act that
Yes.
you mentioned, so these workers
Right
have
now.
to stay on the job while negotiations continue. Take a listen to the American Trucking Association CEO, studio, placing a lot of the blame on President Biden and the Biden-Harris administration for this walkout.
Let's go.
It's the job of the president and this administration to bring two parties together when they can't reach an agreement, to mediate. They're not doing that. They're encouraging this strike. By revoking the option of Taft-Hartley, you're encouraging this union to strike and shut down this economy when our southeast United States is recovering from a natural disaster.
Right now.
This is the worst time to have 36 ports shut down our economy.
Yeah, and it also comes as inflation has been cooling, but the concern here is that this strike could lead to higher prices yet again, especially if it lasts a while. As far as the cost of it to the U.S. economy, J.P. Morgan has a very high estimate at around $4.5, maybe even $5 billion a day. Anderson Economic Group is putting the cost on the lower end, but it's still $2.1 billion in the first week, and they say it's only going to get worse as the supply chains grind to a
2.1 in the first week doesn't make any sense because it's at least 1.2 billion a day, right? I think JP Morgan's estimate is slightly high as a daily average, right? But yeah, it's a little excessive, guys.
Halt, and the products coming in aren't able to get unloaded from ships. Some of the big companies that are reliant on these imports are companies like Walmart, Costco, LG Electronics, IKEA. The list goes on, and it's only going to get worse, Harris, if this strike goes on.
Right.
Grady Trimble, great reporting out there. Thank you. I know you're talking to so many people. That is very helpful. Charles Payne is here, host of Making Money. This feels like Bidenomics and extending of all that had gone wrong with decision making and not understanding the pain that people feel with pricing, that they would not have fought harder to keep this from happening.
You're absolutely right, because the nomics part of it has always been missing. And
it's the Biden. That's good. I see what you did there.
The entire agenda has been driven about who you want to favor. And for the most part, the Biden administration has favored the elites, the wealthy. And
the
of course, the Biden, the whole agenda.
And the Kamala Harris's.
The Biden-Harris agenda has favored and rewarded the wealthiest people in this country, and of course, unions.
Really?
But the president to say he doesn't believe in intervening, particularly on the heels of this storm over the weekend, is really mind-boggling. I mean, we're talking about these ports handle $3 trillion a year. One report does say it could be $600 million a day. And this adds up very, very quickly.
Well, yeah. I mean, it said $2.1 billion by the end of this week.
Right. And again,
more than that.
But here's the thing we also have to realize. There's a compounding effect to it, right? 1 day equals 5 days of repercussions, right? 1 week, 1 day means the supply chain could get backed up for 1 week. These numbers start to add up, just as we were coming out of a supply chain crisis, and to do it at such a vulnerable time. Again, the lowest parts of our economic strata are going to get hurt the most. And listen, it may seem frivolous of all the things that I heard that were named off, from pharmaceuticals to automobiles. But
no, these are big deals.
This will be it. I mean, if it lasts too long, there won't be toys for Christmas.
Well, look, let's just pause for a second about what's on those containers right now. Food is on those containers. Now, maybe some of those things can sit. That food can't wait.
Like all the bananas, the perishables.
Do you know how expensive a banana is about to become?
Yeah, it's really amazing.
So how long does it take before, and real quick, because I want to move on, Commerce Secretary, I want to get to something she said. How long before we really start to see those things, though? Do we have a month?
A month.
Not a month.
35 days.
See them in weeks.
All right. Commerce.
It depends on the market, I'd say, right? If it's something perishable, you'll see it immediately, right? But I would say a solid 30, 35 days.
Secretary Gina Raimondo did an interview yesterday, but not as Commerce Secretary. She appeared as a Kamala Harris campaign surrogate hours before the strike began.
Where have you been kind of focused and hearing on what would happen if the strike goes, let's say, longer than a week?
Again, I have not been very focused on that. I would refer you to the White House or the Transportation Secretary.
Refer you to the White House? I mean, that's where Kamala Harris is working now as VP. What is she talking about?
For a split second, she was going to say, I refer you to the Commerce Secretary, but hold on, wait a minute, that's me. I posted on X yesterday. It's been a tight race for the most incompetent person in this administration. But in the last 2 weeks, I feel like that she has kind of taken the lead over maybe Pothole Pete. It's really it's an embarrassment.
Pothole
This is her
Pete.
job.
But it's dangerous.
Of course, it's dangerous.
That's not his name, bro. Listen, we need to get away from this whole name calling thing. It's ridiculous. It's childish. Like how are multiple grown adults just sitting here making up nicknames for people, bro? Listen, whatever his name is, I'm sure it's not Pothole Pete, bro. This is how you lose credibility, sir.
And it gets back to what I said in the very beginning of our conversation. There's never been a focus on economics. There's never been a focus on commerce. Everything has been a focus on their agenda from day one. And there's a massive indifference to Americans.
Talk to me about, though, and we won't get into the details of the Taft Act, but Biden could have dealt with this. We've known about this for weeks.
7 decades has been in place.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he knew weeks ago that he was on the precipice,
Right.
and everybody knew they were dealing with Harold Daggett,
Right.
the head of that union.
Right.
I mean, come on, he just got reelected. He's not going anywhere. He knows he's a man in his power, as they like to say colloquially. So with all of that, Biden just sat by? Kamala Harris just sat by?
Yeah, they just sat by and maybe even...
And let Rome burn.
Well, spoiling for a fight. Maybe, hey, you know what? We're out there fighting for unions.
That's
Make sure
valid.
you get out there in November and fight for us. That kind of campaign sloganeering kind of stuff that they like to do more than actually, get things done for the nation. I mean, this isn't...
Protect.
This isn't about what side of the aisle you're on. We're talking about our economy. We're talking about a vulnerable time for our economy.
I don't know about that,
trucks
bro.
were not taking some of those perishables you talked about. To your point, everyone in the industry saw this coming. And they also saw the fact that the White House was going to do nothing about it.
You mentioned Hurricane Helene. I mean, we need all hands on deck to get stuff to where it needs to go now. This is a dereliction of duty on their part. And I read today from the White House that they were working 24 hours a day. I wish we had 39-hour days at this point. Make them work harder.
Absolutely. I agree.
Charles Payne, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, guys. I just personally think, again, if you're working, you should probably be paid what you're worth, basically, right? They're comparing their income in a place where the cost of living is this, right? To a place where the cost of living is this. And they are not satisfied. They would not be satisfied with getting what the West Coast is getting and the East Coast. And they're basically punishing us because they're like, listen, no. You think we only want that? And because we're not getting that, you're going to go ahead and give me 77% more than I've ever made in my life. Bro, this is not acceptable, bro. But personally, if I was running it or leading it, I would obviously say, you know what? This is what we're going to do. They make a lot of money, so it's no problem here. But this is what we're going to do here, okay? We're going to go ahead and give you this contract for 1 year. And then after 1 year, we're going to pay you what you want. Okay, we're going to pay you what you want for 1 year. And then after that 1 year, you're going to watch literally as everything becomes automated in front of your face, right? For the sole purpose to make sure you see this. This is your destruction in front of you. And it's happening because you're acting like this, because you did this. You held the United States of America hostage, right? You did that. Okay, well, this is for you. Machines, robots. But all right, guys, listen, let me know in the comments what you guys think. I definitely think that they should invoke the Taft-Hartley Act. I think that's probably a mandatory thing. Get that going immediately. All right? Because this cannot happen. Things are already terrible. Do they need to get worse? It seems like the leader of that union is completely satisfied with watching America basically do this. So, all right. It pisses me off so bad, guys. But all right, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day. Thoroughly. Guys, before we go, are you guys subscribed to the other channels? Logical Movie Reviews with Mr. L. Boyd along with Mr. L. Boyd Music. Both are found in the description. Check it out.